Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for special reports. I have a collection of different pieces of information that I've gathered through browsing through, whether it's Facebook or people sharing information with me. And this really stood out to me. This word mayhem, which Peter insists this is what we're going through right now. We call it chaos, but he says that it's more than chaos; it's mayhem. And essentially, it does feel that way. It's almost like you blink an eye. The next morning, you wake up and you find out that there was, another outbreak of some kind of problem. You know, Originally we started off with this insanity of a virus, and then lockdown and isolation, everyone locked in, losing their minds. And now it's showing people coming out, and but the problem is it's very organized, and that's the mayhem that we're experiencing right now. And whether it gets worse or not, I guess that's possible. Anything's possible. But I thought, I'd show you this too. I mean, we know that George Floyd has been in the center of many different things, but this is an emblem that he had on his chest. So, when the incident occurred, I'll say the incident because I won't say that I know for sure that it was actually his death. But and not, of course, I'm not being insensitive to any group, race, or belief system. This is my view, and we're here about truth. We're not here to support agendas, false flags, and or anything like that. So that's what this is all about. So on his chest, he had the Freemason emblem, Ardo Ab Ko or Cheo, which is a Latin word for out of chaos. And here is an interesting symbology. Okay, so here is a racial plan for the 20th century from 1912, Israel Cohen. And you see the communist symbol, Star of David. It looks like the Black Power movement, 1912. So, I mean, I'm sure that there's been things going on even longer than this, but you can see what the agenda is. It says pretty much we must realize, that our party's most powerful weapon is racial tension. By propounding into the consciousness of the dark races that for centuries they have been oppressed by the whites, we can mold them to the program of the Communist Party. So this is an agenda of the Communist Party, is to create a divide and conquer. And, you could pretty much skim through it. You know how they're going to aim toward minorities against the whites, endeavor to instill whites a guilt complex, a white guilt complex. It's part of the exploitation for exploiting the black people. And here it's just crazy. To rise to the prominence in every walk of life and the prominence in the world of sports and entertainment with this prestige. As I think about that movie, The Prestige, and the magicians. So, magic, incorporating magic, and then bring in this problem, delivering America to our cause. So that's the agenda. If we want to play into their agenda, or if we want to resolve issues, resolving issues is one thing. Playing the game of the puppet masters is another. But it's still a game. Remember, we're still in the game. And divide and conquer is their greatest tool, and those that fall into it will find that they go into a dead-end road, because the ones that you're going after are not the cause of your problem. The cause of your problem is in another place, but they're seemingly unattainable. And it's just time for people to direct their energy in the right way, stay on the the path of dealing with the elite that are oppressing us, and in a sense wanting a slave system for all of us. So fighting against the ones that are not in power is not going to really help anybody, but actually, tearing down innocent people's homes and destroying small businesses is exactly what they want you to do. And these people are just like, trying to make a living. They're in just a difficult situation, just like the rest of us. And so I don't know why anyone would consent to do that unless they're fully hijacked, mind controlled, and highly misdirected in whatever the intentions are. So anyhow, I thought this was interesting. This guy's company, Seven Sigma, says that they will leave Minneapolis because their factory was burned down. Look what they make, mannequins for disaster training and purposes. And someone said something about how the casket was too small. I don't know. They can make things look pretty much alive as well. It's just something to think about. Attacks on the police is an old communist tactic to eliminate law enforcement. The Bolsheviks successfully unleashed widespread attacks on police in the run-up to the October Revolution. So, getting back to the mayhem, the insanity, I think that's pretty much what we're looking at here. I think that the other piece to this, we're still in the game. We're still playing the game until everything gets resolved. Just in the closing here, all of these films are related to viral outbreaks. They've been definitely preparing. And some of these movies I've talked about before, like the 12 Monkeys and the Andromedan Strain, which is something I've been talking about since 2015, and that's exactly what Andronicus brought up to me. And you can see there's so many of them. I'll have a link for people to look at and check out. And you will be able to see that, some of these things are similar to what we're looking at, and many of them are apocalyptic. All right, so I thought this was interesting. I don't know if this is actually what his profile of his head looks like, but it is quite interesting. We do have visitors here. There are others on this planet, and a person can be born naturally and then something else step in, and then here we go. I don't know, I saw this, I thought this was interesting. This is part of the plan. 8 days before the death of George Floyd, Obama had already said, "I'm asking you to believe not in my ability to create change, but in yours, President Barack Obama." So, here's this picture. I mean, it really looks like George Floyd. So, the plan is set up, and that goes for all of us as a plan against us. End of the world, Mayan doomsday resurgence after we are technically in 2012 claim. So I thought this article was really interesting, that they're saying that technically, listen to this, end of the world fears have resurged after online users wildly claimed the Julian calendar, which was used until the 1500s, could place Earth in the year 2012, not 2020. Potentially meaning the Mayan doomsday prediction could still unravel. So when 2012 actually came, it didn't feel like anything at all. I mean, it was like everyone was, doing kind of a world, hold hands across the world. They were doing all sorts of different, very new age events. It was celebratory in a way. Nobody was really afraid of anything. And but when I saw this, I said, well, I'm pretty sure that the prediction was accurate. But nothing really happened in that date, and I knew it was going to happen later. But look at the difference. And so we have here the Gregorian calendar was introduced by Pope Gregory the 13th in 1582, making some changes to the previously used Julian calendar, namely dropping 11 days to accurately reflect the time it takes Earth to orbit once around the Sun. At that time, many countries opposed the new system, with London residents taking to the streets to hold protests, demanding, "Give us back our 11 days." Although only 11 actual days have been lost, online users have calculated the amount technically accumulated over the past 286 years, with one sharing a post in the Twitter claiming, "Following the Julian calendar, we are technically now in 2012. Scientist Paul Tagaloquin explained in his post the number of days lost in a year due to the shift into the Gregorian calendar's 11 days. For 268 years, using the Gregorian calendar from 1752 to 2020 times 11 days, 2,948 days, 2,948 days, 365 days per year, 8 years. His post is not only of its kind, but others have been far more inventive with their conclusions. Another tweeted, "When the world switched to the Gregorian calendar in the 1700s, we lost around 8 years in translation." Yes, technically, this year is 2012. The third said, "Remember the Mayan prediction that the world would end in December 21st, 2012. Do you know how we lost 8 years when we switched the Gregorian calendar? Yeah, well, we have 6 months." And the fourth claimed, "Well, when in 1752 everyone switched to the Gregorian calendar, 8 years were lost, which means that technically 2012 is 2020 is 2012. There's a lot of twos in here as well. That was supposed to happen in 2012. Yes, the end of the world in 2020 suddenly makes more sense. Doomsday fears are sparked by incorrect assumptions that the Mayan calendar predicts the end of the world to occur on or around December 21st of 2012. But I don't know if that's exactly what they were saying. The date was regarded in the end date of 5,126 year long cycle in the Mesoamerican long count calendar, and festivities took place on December 21st, 2012 to commemorate the event in the countries that were a part of the Mayan civilization. The main events of Chichen Itza in Mexico and in Guatemala, various astronomical alignments and numerological formula were proposed for this date to mark the end of the world, with scenarios suggesting the arrival of the next solar maximum, an interaction between the Earth and the supermassive black hole, the center of the galaxy, or Earth's collision with a mythical planet called Nibiru. Here we go. So we got a black hole and Nibiru, and that's enough for us conspiracy theorists, right? I think it's a little more than that. Mayan scholars stated that no classic Mayan accounts forecast impending doom, and the idea of the long count calendar ends in 2012 misrepresented the Mayan history and culture. Instead, they believe it marks the beginning of a new era. So I'm leaning more towards that. It's the beginning of a new era, but talk about the chaos that's happening this year in particular. Many have falsely claimed that their response to these tweets that Ethiopia reflects the correct day according to the Julian calendar. Now, why would Ethiopia reflect the exact information? Well, according to Ethiopia is a country free of any colonial powers. and influences of the Roman Church, it was not affected by either of the calendars and retained its original calendar, claiming Jesus was born on 7 BC. Like the Julian calendar, it adds a leap day, every 4 years without exception, and begins the year on August 29th and August 30th in the Julian calendar, making today June 1st, 2012. But a gap of 7 to 8 years between the Ethiopian and the Gregorian calendars result from an alternate calculation in determining the date of the Annunciation, not because of the days lost. If the world was to switch back to the Julian calendar, the date would be May 25th. So, I mean, it's something to look at. It's quite interesting. Here's, the ancient calendar, and yeah, I don't think so, but I know it feels that way. But in some ways, who knows, right? So we'll save this article for people to look at. Europa. Journalist dies before he exposes Soros in Ashburg. Investigative journalist who went undercover to infiltrate the violent leftist group, such as Antifa, has been found dead. Petra Rabbani infiltrated Antifa and was about to expose the billionaire people trafficker George Soros when he died. Rabbani was a hugely popular Swedish independent reporter, well known for his daring exposés. He was found dead in his home Friday night in suspicious circumstances, according to police. He was currently working on an investigation into radical leftist mainstream journalist Robert Ashburg and his connection to George Soros-funded extremist organizations when he was killed. Shortly before he died, Rabbani revealed he was about to lift the lid on the mass corruption that linked Soros and Ashburg. Petra Rabbani gained popularity when he tried to confront Expressen's left-wing newspaper editor-in-chief Thomas Mattsson and journalist Diamant Salahu in their homes in Stockholm. In August 2012, Rabbani released a documentary, Skammens Skugga and the Shadow of Shame, describing the rape epidemic and perils of Swedish girls faced with Muslim invaders. In the late of September 27, Rabbani infiltrated an Antifa demonstration in Gothenburg. So you could see it's dangerous as people trying to expose certain things, trying to find out the truth. And this is what's happening. We've talked about what was happening with the aggression of trying to force different cultures together in circumstances where you're bringing in not people who are in a bad situation necessarily, as far as like bringing in families, but bringing in the military to create upheaval, chaos, mayhem in their cities. This is something that I predicted as well. I knew that there was a major agenda regarding the Joker, and I'm not surprised about this at all. A Chicago man who allegedly wore Joker mask during the protest charged with setting fire to a police vehicle. And, I guess allegedly placed a lit object into a gas tank of a police car. And I said that this is what Joaquin Phoenix was doing. He's bringing in this energy. Look familiar? And there was violence and chaos. Even at the movie theaters, police were setting up, expecting that something was going to happen. And they rewarded him. They gave him a nice reward, saying, hey, you did a great job showing people how to create chaos and mayhem in your cities. she also got rewarded, and I said she was doing the same thing, bringing in an energy that was going to create problems. She got a lot of awards for that. But some will say, oh, but she's very talented. But they use their talent to affect people. There's another one. There's, let's see, Jared Leto, the Clown Prince of Crime. An inspiration, maybe? Suicide Squad, DC Comics. It seems completely innocent. We also saw him connected to Mobius and what looks like it could have been the COVID-19 virus, or, something like that. You see the bats contracting, creating some kind of anomaly in people, and we know that's exactly what they were doing. Okay, so we'll look at this, and I guess this is one of the Antifa leaders, strangely similar to what we were looking at earlier with the Joker. And I found it quite interesting. I mean, the green hair seems to be, consistent. I guess this is related to the standoff in Seattle that they're having. And why does it not surprise me? I don't know if many of you remember him. He just passed recently from the band of Prodigy. I talked about him years ago when I was discussing the Andronicus transmissions, how he reminded me of, the crazy mayhem and related to Dionysus and the fires and all the stuff that's been going on. And I said, this is pretty much what he's looking like. And so I'm sure you can look up Dionysus. I recognize him right away. And the modus operandi of what he's doing, it's not surprising to me that he's showing up in the movies. I mean, he's moving through, he's inspiring, he's creating this energy. I talked about him coming from Jupiter. Peter talks about the space programs, or Mars and Jupiter related, the doorway of CERN. I talked about the fires and the fires and the fires, and how he was literally using on these other parallels, creating fires. And we saw nothing but fires in various locations in the past couple of years. And so for him to, be showing up through these different same expressions, the same attitude. And it's not just, the punk rocker type of thing, but looks familiar, right? It does to me. So that's what I'm looking at here. So I started thinking about this song, and as I reflected about Flint from Prodigy, that reminded me very much of the Joker and some of these other things that are being portrayed. And you notice he has a song called Breathe. With the I Can't Breathe movement, we have, clearly this is a song, and I'm trying to see exactly when this came out. 1996 is when it was released. It's quite a while ago, isn't it? Come Play My Game. Inhale, inhale. You're the victim. And so essentially, I think this is the same one over and over again that we're playing games with, and there's more than one game players in this, but Dionysus energy coming through into our reality, and you'll see the green hair, the gesturing, and all sorts of things and just the fact that it's about breathe. For those of you that don't like this type of music, I'm sorry, but I'm going to play it. First thing he says is, breathe with me. Come play my game, I'll test ya. Inhale, inhale, you're the victim. Notice the alligator right here, coming out from underneath the bed, the walls, everything's falling apart, the destruction of everything, apocalyptic. A lot of people have been seeing Sobek. He's come up. He's the Egyptian god, the alligator. I was just, happen to see that coming up here and there throughout. I don't know what it is, if it's related to something Egyptian or this Sirius group, whether they're involved. They're also showing a white man, a black man on the other side of the walls. Inhale, inhale, yep. And so this is it. I mean, this is pretty much it. Come play my game. Come play my game. And that's what they're calling us to do. And because they're bored, I don't know. I have no idea why this is really that important to them. The upside down world. The objects become inanimate. And there's the alligator again. I mean, I could play the whole thing over. A person wants to listen to it, they can. It's just, symbolism, breathe, prodigy, the clown, the connection of all these things that just keep coming up. And, keep our eyes open as part of the game. Whether they want to bring more mayhem and chaos. We'll see whether they think they have a right to destroy cities and innocent people's properties. And convincing us to self-sabotage, essentially, to destroy everything that is ours. Why not? Then they don't have to do it, and then they can say we're dark and we're evil, and meanwhile they've inserted these ideas of self-destruction. Because they don't have permission to come in here to destroy it, but they can convince us to do their work for them. So anyhow, that's it. Sorry, I don't have any. The only thing I could say to you is forget about this and connect into your higher self. Know how to be in a place of knowing. Don't be separated from the divine. And you will be fine. I think that, like I said, there's a natural course in things. Some people, it's time for them to pass over. Sometimes it's people to heal and rise up. There's always a time to speak, but not to do it in a way that is persuaded, manipulated, maneuvered to further support their agenda. And the more we understand what their agenda is, the more we can stay clear of following the leader down into a dark pit or an abyss of nothing, or this dead end road. So thank you for listening, and keep informed. continue to share information with people. And I think that the more we're educated and knowledgeable about what's going on, I think we'll have a better handle on it and to not fall into any more snares. So thank you and goodbye for today.